Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Oh, my, sorry. My name is Fatima Saeed, and I'm here to initiate the Shark Tank competition, which I'm very excited about, and I hope you are as well. Before मैं शुरू करूँ, मैं मौलाना शुक्र अदा करवा चाहूँ छू. Molano Ganoj Esanche, we have this platform and a constant reminder that as healthcare professionals, we have a responsibility to use our knowledge, which is a privilege, to help other people, and to constantly understand that we should be grateful for the opportunity to help Mominin as opposed to expecting gratitude for what we do. And that reminder from Mola is really powerful because it's allowing us to build our wealth for our akhirat. So with that in mind, I just want to thank all of the participants. All of the 9 teams that submitted or gave in submissions have been working towards this competition weeks before the conference. They've put in a lot of time and effort. And I'm truly grateful, and I really hope, regardless of the outcome of this competition, that you all go to make those khidmat ideas come true, really, because they're needed. And so thank you to all of you. May Allah really bless you for the niyat in itself. I also want to thank our judges, and if I may ask all our judges to come at the front. And for all the teams that are participating, if you can come and sit kind of closer to the front so we can get started. But I'd like to thank all the judges who have been judging all the initial submissions since the week before the conference, and inshallah will be judging today's competition as well. Okay, so with that in mind, I'd like to actually I'll tell you a little bit about the format for today. So each team will come up and have 10 minutes to present their idea. We will then open it up for questions for about 5 minutes while the next team prepares. The judges will then kind of come up to their conclusion for who wins. The winning team will get $5,000 towards making this initiative a reality, and the aim is eventually to roll the initiative out in all of the Jamaats in North America, inshallah. So with that in mind, our first judge is Dr. Munira bin Basrai. You've heard her inspirational talk today already. She's a senior scientist in the genetics branch of the National Center Institute. Her research is focused on the genetics of cancers, as she told us earlier, using model systems and human cells. She serves also as vice president of the Amatullah Eye Cancer Prevention Program, as we heard, and she does a lot of khidmat, but when she gets her free time, she really enjoys mentoring people towards the healthcare industry. So thank you for your work and welcome. Our next judge is Sheikh Dr. Huzaifa Bai Shakir, who's a professor of cardiothoracic surgery at Rutgers University. He's also an executive board member of the Eastern Cardiothoracic Surgical Society and the chair of the Research and Innovations Committee. He is also a special state officer for the New Jersey India Commission and an advisory board member to an artificial intelligence startup with a focus on improving patient outcomes in heart failure. In his spare time, he enjoys playing pickleball and watching sports. And then last, but certainly not the least, we have Alifia bin Al-Qamari, who is an academic physician in internal medicine. She's been practicing hospital medicine for 15 years, and she's an assistant professor of medicine at Rush University in the lead OSCE faculty and director of internal medicine sub-internship. Beyond her clinical and teaching roles, she has been doing khidmat in the SBMAA for over 10 years. She's a mother of 3 kids, and in her spare time, if she has any, with everything she's doing, she likes to draw and paint. So I welcome and thank all of the 3 judges, and without further ado, I will hand over to the first team that will be presenting today. So it is Team Defy Dementia Khidmat Buddies.
Hi, my name is Mohammed Zakir.
Hi, my name is Muhammad Jamali, and our Try to Take initiative is
Defy dementia. So the problem. Dementia is the sixth leading cause of death in the elderly population. Especially in our community, there's three main things. There's a big stigma around it. There's a lot of the elderly population lives in isolation. They have reduced engagement. They kind of just come to masjid, come back. There's no in between, like unless they're living with their families. And there's also very few community programs that both address prevention and companionship. So a big theme of this conference that actually has been empathy, so this is a big push. The inspiration, first and foremost, it always comes from Mola's Farman, that you should take care of your elders, do khabargiri. Mola Farman don't leave them at home, they have barakat, they have knowledge, take them to the dukan with you as they have the knowledge, they're going to be able to uplift you more. And more recently in Mola's, I believe it was Mola's Milad was, he showed the power of a hug kit. Parents come home, takanma, very tired, just stressed out. Their child runs up to them, gives them a hug, and all of that just disperses. So the same is needed for the elderly population. So we actually have, along with Molas Farman, we have two scientific research studies backing this. So there's a Finnish study called the finger study. It's named the finger study based off of your palm of your hand, you have 5 fingers. They focused on 5 lifestyle interventions. And a US adaptation of it called the pointer study. So it's more intervention based. And it all focuses on prevention more than just screening. So this is an overview of the finger study. It focuses on healthy food, specifically Mediterranean diet, physical activity, mental and cognitive stimulation, social engagement, as well as cardiovascular health. The US Pointer study is very similar, and it's currently adopted by 3 major schools. 2 I want to note is the Baylor College of Medicine and Rush in Chicago.
So this is kind of where our initiative takes into place. We really want to combine the youth population with the elderly, because a lot of times, like we said before, the elderly are especially in our Jamaat and especially in our communities, the elderly population don't have much engagement with the younger population. They feel a lot of isolation. So from our own core team, we want to start a pilot program in our Houston Jamaat and have training for about 4 to 5 buddies, meaning the youth. And we want to train them on what is dementia, how to manage with dementia, and how to work with the older population and form a very strong bond with them. That is the ultimate goal, to form a strong bond with the older population. And have weekly visits, maybe weekly or bi-weekly, and have activities going. And alongside that, have memory health clinic days where we hold free screenings, where we hold dementia dementia awareness sessions. And some activities we want to include are paired with the current organizations already set in place, such as in Houston Jamaat, we have Young at Hearts. This is an organization where about once a month, the elderly population, they all come together and they have a game night or things of that sort. But they're all together. And we want to combine that with the youth organizations such as Tolaba, Talibat. All these things, we want to combine that together and combine the youth with the elderly again. And some activities that can happen are storytelling, some spiritual reflection, some light exercises, walking, stretching, things of this nature. I think this will all help enhance not only the cognitive function of the elderly, but also enhance the bond between the youth and the elderly. And then lastly, memory activities, of course, to help enhance the cognitive function. So the ultimate goal of this is really multifaceted. For the youth, it is a great way to learn from the elderly. It is a great way for them to gain advice, great wisdom. All these things, the elderly have so much to offer. And then for the elderly, of course, they get to feel a connection with the youth and get to feel as if they were young again. And with all that, they also enhance their cognitive function. So this is really a multifaceted function, and we really hope that this can take into place. And we want to determine progress in a specific way. We want to see how effective are the relationships that we built. How often are the buddies meeting? How often are they coming together? How long have they stayed for? What % of people that we have trained have committed to long-term relationships with the elderly? And that is one way we want to check. The other way we want to check it is to see if the elderly population are satisfied with their relationship. So that's kind of the way that we want to see, determine our progress. And for scaling this up, we want to, after we run the pilot program and after we see the sustainability and the routine of this, we want to train more individuals in our Jamaat, train as many as we can, pair as many buddies as we can, and launch on a local level. And seeing the monthly reports, seeing how often, the success of this, eventually we hope to package everything that we've done and send it to other Jamaats, not only other Jamaats, but also other areas, India, Pakistan, UK, America, because we believe that wherever you are, wherever they are, Buzurgo should be engaged with the Jamaat, engaged with the youth. So this is the one way that we can really join all those things together. So
this is a call to action to not just SBMA, not just health initiative, just to everybody. So first they obtain Molas Kushi and Defy Dementia together. I just wanted to put 2 examples in you guys' head as an example. So let's say you have a pre-med student, you pair them up with a former doctor. The value that they're going to exchange is pretty significant. The former doctor can give examples of, oh, these are old techniques we used to use. If there's any recommendations to doctors that are currently still practicing, he can help them out in that way. And through that engagement, they're also slowing their cognitive decline. Another personal example is I have a lot of shauq to do Zakirin Khidmat. So a lot of the old kalams are in Urdu, and you don't initially, you get the gist of the zikr that's being prayed, but you don't hear the exact definition of all the words. So being able to engage in that sense is also another example. Yeah, this is.
Yeah. So we're just going to open up to questions from the judges.
Mubarak on your presentation today, being selected as a finalist, and congratulations on your hard work to date. Janab Hassan Bhai Sahab, Hamna Farmayu, that what we are already doing is already the correct way, and the science needs to catch up to us. And we need to do a better job to understand how what we are doing is explained by science, rather. My question focused a little bit on what we are originally doing many years ago and what we are currently seeing. And your points are excellent and well taken. Hamna Buzurgar, we have a lot of Buzurgar sitting on using chairs, for example. We have Rahat camps when we go for Ashar and things like that. We have those who cannot sit on the ground are using chair and table in the Mawayar also. That also kind of leads to a little bit of isolation in some respects. Do you have any suggestions or comments on how we can still keep these things accessible for those who have handicaps or elderly, but keep them more integrated within the broader Ashra gatherings or our mikats in the masjid and so forth?
I would say that also comes in with the memory health clinic things. So within those, it's not just going to be dementia education and stuff. We're going to have practical exercises and things in place. So you don't want to be sitting on a chair right when you're 60 years old. You want to still be able to sit on the floor. So we're going to have activities integrated, not just the buddy system, but these activities like this memory health clinic where it's all the elderly, all the kid buddies coming together and practicing together to kind of.
I'd like to add on to that. I think you make a great point that, you know, in our Jamaat, a lot of times you have systems set in place such as the Rahat block and things of that nature where it kind of forces the elderly to be isolated. I think something that we can really do is, you know, essentially even have the youngsters maybe even sit in tal with the elderly, maybe even sit with them, things of that nature, or even, like we said before, have light exercises. We are a very health-oriented organization, so being able to help the elderly through light exercising, stretching, things of that nature, hopefully can take them eventually off the chair and on the ground, sitting with the rest of the mu'mineen. So ultimately, that is the goal, to help the overall health of these buzurgo.
Great presentation. So 2 simple questions. How do you decide the age of the mu'min who you want to buddy up with? And based on my experience with, including my own mom, who had dementia, there is a huge stigma in our community for family members not to disclose dementia to members of the community and almost to shield these elders from social interactions so that the dementia is not revealed to society. So how do you plan to address that at a social level where mu'mineen feel comfortable telling you that a family member has dementia? And how do you keep the confidentiality of that mu'min's dementia? I mean, the last thing I think we want to see is an Excel spreadsheet where people are flagged as dementia, no dementia, and then the rest of the Jamaat knowing कि वो भाई आम आसी ने तो कहीं आदत नहीं रहती, आ काका जी ने तो कहीं आदत नहीं रहती.
Right. So in general, Dr. Imran, in general, we would target people who are 65 and above, right? But this, I told them the same thing, and I want to make this point clear. This initiative is not for someone who has dementia. This is an initiative for everyone who is getting older. We have an aging population. We've seen it personally, run multiple, cognitive screenings in Houston on a personal level. A lot of buzurgo now live in isolation. Their parents, their kids live somewhere else. They have all these difficulties. They're not cognitively declining, right? They don't have necessarily that, but they have other problems. They have depression, they have anxiety, they have all these things. They don't know how to use their cell phones. They can't, communicate. They don't know who to ask for help. So I want to make this point clear that this initiative is not necessarily to talk about dementia, but this is an initiative of how we get our youth more engaged with the elderly population, that they can reach out. In a smaller jamaat, it's very easy, right? When you have an elderly person in a small jamaat, the youth usually talk to them. But when you get into the size of a Houston jamaat standpoint, a lot of the youth don't interact with the old people, and that's a problem, So we want to eliminate that gap because I guarantee you we have a lot in common with our elderly people. They have gone through a lot of different things in their life that a lot of young people are probably going through in their life at one point. They've also dealt with relationship issues. They've also dealt with all these other facets. And that's important because that's a different perspective from that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Team Defy Dementia with Dr. Ibrahim Nurbai, Mohammed Zakir, Mohammed Jamali, Mohammed Bahimuddin, and Hussein Motiwala. It's now my pleasure to introduce the next team, the 4 fidgeteers, with Dr. Batul Kaj, Munira Shakir Badri, Ahmad Bai Madwala, and Dr. Mufadal Mustaboy.
Assalamu alaikum, sharks. Molanu Karam and Ehsan ke hame apna samne aaya hai to present our proposal. First, मैं Dr. Batul Chu, I'm a pediatrician from Chicago. हमारी दिकरी आमना छे. आ छे मुनीरा बेन, a pediatric occupational therapist छे. પછી અહમદભાઈ છે જે આપના મેડિકલ સ્ટુડન્ટ છે જેનું ઇન્ટરેસ્ટ છે પીડિયાટ્રિક્સમાં ને મુફદ્દલભાઈ ડૉક્ટર મુફદ્દલ pediatrician also from Chicago. So આપને પ્રેઝન્ટ કરીએ છીએ અમારું આઈડિયા, અમારું પ્રપોઝલ જે છે called the Sensory Studio.
What we're trying to aim here is inclusivity in madrasa and in masjid during majalises. Next slide. અશરાના દિવસોમાં એક હાદેસો બનેલો હતો કે બુરહાનુદ્દીન મોલા પધારતા હતા અને સગલા ફરજંદો અને મોમિનીન બધા ઉભેલા હતા દીદાર વાસ્તે અને આપણા ફરજંદો સ્પેશિયલ નીડ્સના બી પણ ફરજંદો સામે ઉભેલા હતા અને ખિદમત ગુજારો એ લોકોને હટાવવા લાગા આકા મોલા પધારી રહ્યા હતા અને મોલા પોતે રૂકી ગયા અને ફરમાયું કે એને હટાવો મત આ બી અમારા આઈંદાનું લશ્કર છે.
Okay, so let's discuss this. Why do we need to support children with special needs? Children with ADHD, children with autism, children with sensory processing disorders. These are children who have difficulties with simple things like attention, impulsivity, hyperactivity. You can see some different movements that the kids will make. They can't sit still. They have difficulties with body control, and therefore they have trouble focusing in places like madrasa, in places like majlis, during bayan, and different tools that are available in the occupational therapy setting can help them to be more centered and feel more focused and be able to listen to the bayan and absorb the bayan and absorb the education that they're receiving from their ustad.
So as we're talking about the increased prevalence of autism and ADHD, what's the solution for that? What are we going to do to make the learning environment better for them? And feel free to scan this QR code, but there's a lot of evidence in data by clinicians and experts in this field that show how these sensory tools, these are some devices, some objects, how they could really improve the learning environment, make it more transformative. So specifically, there's some data suggesting how these tools can improve focus and attention, reduce anxiety and stress, limit sensory overall. But overall, just promote inclusivity and access. And I have some sensory tools I'll pass out to the judges for you guys to look at.
So what are we trying to propose here? What are we trying to propose? We are proposing a lending closet full of sensory materials, sensory objects, adaptive equipment that apna farzando can access, teachers and parents can come and access within the Jamaat so that our children mehrum na rahi jaye. E loga pan besi sake, e loga pan attend kari sake, maa baap pan attend kari sake because e loga bachao ma focus na rahe. This idea is very unique. It currently does not exist anywhere in any madrasa setting in North America, to our knowledge. It's quite important because of what I said. We want inclusivity. We don't want ke apna bachao, koi ban bachao mehrum rahi jaye.
However, we would like to demonstrate for you how we think this is going to work.
Okay, class, બેઠી જાઓ હવે અમને ક્લાસ શરૂ થશે. અમને આજે અરબીના હુરૂફ શીખશું, ઓકે? સો કામ શોર કરો છો, પ્લીઝ પે અટેન્શન કરો. હા, શું છે મુફદ્દલભાઈ? હમણાં જ ક્લાસ શરૂ થયું, સો કામ હમણાં બાથરૂમમાં જવું છે. પે અટેન્શન કરો, ઓકે? પહેલું હુરૂફ અલીફ છે, પછી ક્વેશ્ચન છે. યાર ઘડી ઘડી બાથરૂમમાં જવું છે. પહેલાં પે અટેન્શન કરો, પછી બાથરૂમમાં જાઓ. શું કામ ફિજિટ કરો છો? યાર બધા બચ્ચાઓ સુનતા જ નહીં, એકદમ શોર કરે છે. ફિજિટ હિયર પ્લીઝ, મને થોડું મદદ કરશો? ઓકે, જો મને ખબર છે તમે થોડું મૂવ અરાઉન્ડ કરવું છે, આઈ ગેટ દેટ, પણ બીજાને ડિસ્ટ્રેક્ટ થાય છે, ઓકે? જો હવે તમારા પાસે ટૂલ્સ આવી ગયા, ઓકે? હવે થોડું ફોકસ કરો, ઓકે? ટ્રાય ટુ પે અટેન્શન, ઓકે? ઓકે, જો મેં શું કીધું, પહેલું હળૂફ શું છે આમેના મને કહેશો? ઓકે, અને બીજું હળૂફ? ગુડ જોબ, શાબાશ શાબાશ, ઓકે?
તો આપ લોકોએ રિયલ લાઈફમાં એકચ્યુઅલી આમ તો જોક્સ છે, બટ જોક્સ અસાઇડ ધીસ થિંગ રિયલી ડઝ વર્ક ઇન રિયલ લાઈફ ઓલ્સો. ને અમે પોતે જ एक्सपीरियंस કીધેલું છે हमारा જ બચ્ચાઓના અંદર हमारा शिकागो જમાતમાં एक्चुअली મુનિરાબેન heads up a special education classroom ને એના અંદર ટૂલ્સ તો ઓલરેડી યુઝ થઈ રહ્યા છે તો રિયલ ટાઈમમાં જોશો if I can figure this out કરો ને ભાઈ તો આજ જે મદ્રસાનું ક્લાસરૂમ છે શિકાગોમાં there's a play button right here હા એમાં જોશો કે આ ટૂલ્સ ઓલરેડી કરિક્યુલમના અંદર જે કસ્ટમાઇઝ કરિક્યુલમ બનાવે છે એમાં શામેલ તો છે જ તો આમાં એમ જોવાય છે કે ટૂલ્સ સાથે મતલબ ડિસ્ટ્રપ્શન થતું જ નથી ક્લાસરૂમના અંદર એમ કે બેઠી ગયા આના પર અને એ લોકો એનું પોતાનું કામ કરતા ગયા ના કોઈ બીજા બચ્ચાઓના પર ડિસ્ટ્રેક્શન થાય છે ના કોઈ ડિસ્ટ્રપ્શન થાય છે અને એનું પોતાનું ફરજંદનું કામ થઈ રહ્યું છે
Have like fidgets, like all kinds of fidgets, not all fidgets, like puppet.
આમાં એમ છે કે આ જે ફરજન છે એ પોતે ફિજેટ ટોયસનું ઘણું યુઝ કરે છે અને એ બતાવી રહ્યા હતા કે ફિજેટ્સ યુઝ કરવાથી એનો શું ફાયદો થાય છે
But
لم
બેસિકલી એના પહેલે આ બચ્ચું છે ને હિપ્સ તો કરી જ નહીં શકે એટલું ફોકસ બી નહીં કરી શકે એ ભાગી જાય ડિસ્ટર્બ કરે મારે કરે બધું ચીજ એને ફેંકે and since offering these tools and mechanisms and training the parents on what to do
ما تفرق
he can get through his entire Quran Hifz class and it's also implemented in the classroom. He normally wants to run out or he wants to hit the teacher, he wants to disrupt other kids. આપે પહેલે ફોટામાં બી જોયેલા એ બેસી ગયો હતો અને આપનું પોતાનું કામ કરી રહ્યો હતો next next
So હવે કેમ કરશું what is the actual plan the how of this project so हमारू plan એમ છે કે પહેલાં તો શિકાગોની મસ્જિદની અમારો મદ્રસા બિલ્ડિંગ અલ્હમ્દુલિલ્લાહ બની ગયો છે તો એમાં ફર્સ્ટ ઓફ ઓલ સ્ટોરેજ સ્પેસ સિક્યોર કરશું એ અમે એક બે સ્પેસીસ તો જોઈ લીધી છે કે કાર રાખવાની છે નેક્સ્ટ અમે એન્ડ ધીસ ઇઝ વેર વી નીડ યોર હેલ્પ શાર્ક્સ અમને પરચેસ કરવા છે સેન્સરી ટૂલ્સ તો એ બી જે એકદમ જે પ્રૂવન સાયન્ટિફિકલી બેક જે ચીજો છે થોડી એક્સપેન્સિવ હોય છે તો એ જ લેવી છે આપણા ફરજંદોના વાસ્તે And then we're going to create a catalog of the items and use a check-in, check-out system to allow the children to use the tools. Ne pachi वापस एम करिए. ने pachi, in addition to this, education तो joyce से judge. So हमारे parents ने भी and teachers ने भी education sessions रखवा माउसे कि लोगों ने समझ में आवे कि tools केम use करवाना चाहिए, केम इस्तेमाल करवाना चाहिए, घरे भी use थाई अने pachi मदरसा ने मजालिस में भी use थाई. अने most importantly, आ चीज़ it's very simple idea ને હમને એમ લાગે છે કે એકવાર પ્રૂવ કરી લઈએ કે આ ચીજ કામયાબ થઈ શકે છે જમાતના અંદર તો પૂરા નોર્થ અમેરિકાના અંદર અને ગ્લોબલી બી સગલી જામિયાતમાં આપણે ઇમ્પ્લિમેન્ટ કરી શકશું આ ચીજ ઇન્શાલ્લાહ
inside our sensory studio we are asking for specific items, not everything on the spectrum obviously, but the things that have been proven effective and proven useful. हमना में जिवारे मद्रसा में हमना sensory classroom में पढ़ावी रही छू special needs बच्चाओं ने तो these have proved useful. Also with data backing it up as well as my clinical expertise. We have a list of items. Obviously, if you can see that they're not cheap, especially if we need them in the multiples. And so that's where you guys come in, Sharks.
So every project needs a budget. This is our estimated budget for the program, looking at a need for all the items that are necessary. We budgeted about $2,500 to purchase all those sensory items. Education, as was said, is very important, not only for the teachers, but also for the parents, to help them understand which sensory tools would be best and most effective for their child. And how they can use those tools during a miqat, during a majlis, in order to help their child sit in the majlis and listen, and also not disrupt other children and other parents while they are engaged in the bayan. Obviously, hygiene and cleanliness is important, so we have a budget for cleaning these items and making sure there's no damaged items and things of that sort. Of course, spreading this to other jamiat would be our khidmat. And that comes only with the cost of dua.
Thank you very much.
So, for Aindanu Lashkar Namaste, all for one and one for all, give us your funding, sharks.
Okay, we'll open for some questions, please.
Thank you for a very entertaining presentation. I never thought I was going to see Mufaddal as a kindergartner, but abhi naseeb thega. But one of the concerns is that if you guys are the experts, but a cheez ma just talking to mothers or fathers, that cheez ma stigma ghanu hase, and visibly identifiable hase bachchu ki jena paase fidget toys and bija bachao paase natti. So how are you? And I understand there's going to be training sessions and awareness outreach sessions, but maybe it's already established, but how are we getting around that? Okay, avo a service note me faido uthavo, and don't be shy, ask for help. Tamara bachcha ne faido uthase, because I feel like that's a big barrier to implementation.
I think currently we see you're right, there's a big stigma to these diagnoses. And currently in Jamaat, I think in most Jamaats you can identify the children that may be in need of some of these supports. So what you're seeing is already some stigma and some isolation of some of these kids and maybe some of these families as well, who possibly don't attend certain miqats because they can't handle the exhaustion that it takes to keep their kids in control and able to sit still and able to participate. So I think that in a sense, these tools will help make them less identifiable than more identifiable.
To that, I'd like to just add, even in madrasa, it's been a challenge trying to get these children to now come and attend madrasa register. I've done an outreach. I've reached out to parents, and they've always said what Dr. Alifia Bin is saying, that they don't want to be identified or stigmatized or their child be. But I said कि just avo and apne joiye, and they have seen the difference. And our children are, not even the parents, our other children are getting exposed, and they're becoming the resource to help these children, because it's becoming a family, like it takes a village. So it takes a community. And so I think just knowing that and identifying it and then offering these things, other kids will help out just as much, especially this generation.
Just one quick point actually. Je chhe na aa cheez to hame disorders ni baat to kide liye ADHD and autism. But in ilawa bhi sensory regulation is important for all of us. Jab apne Alifia has been good about movement breaks. Apne nahi बैठी सकता. ने बच्चों ने भी इतनु लोगों ने होई छे के थोड़ू आ movement होई. तो आमा जे inclusivity नु जे piece छे, it's not just your kid has a disorder, they have to have this fidget toy. It's कोई भी बच्चू अगर तमने में लागे, the whole purpose of this learning clause is के सगला फर्जंदो access करी सकते हैं. इम भी नथी के सिर्फ special education वाला बच्चाओ ले से toys आमा सी, तो एमा सी हजी inclusivity था से के बद्दाज बच्चाओ use करी जा छे. तो एना सी हजी भी थोड़ू inclusivity नु थाई छे. ने in the end जे मुनिया मैंने किधु ने हमें pediatricians में घणु जोए छे के हमें जितला adults बनी ने इतलू नहीं include करी सकता बच्चाओ करे छे. ने बच्चाओ एक भी जाने जोईने ये लोगों include करे छे ने ये लोगों पोते ज समझे छे कि आ बच्चू ने जरा problem छे इन्हें जरा help जोए छे. ये लोगों ज बताओ से अपने के केम जानो छे ने एज आइंदा ना लश्कर छे.
घणु अच्छो हतु तो बे comments छे. एक तो like in America, I know a lot of kids, so all the schools almost in the US have designated teachers and teaching skills for ADHD. And so a lot of the kids that I know, from family and friends that have ADHD are already getting the help in their schools. So I think we have to be mindful કે એ લોકોને જે ADHD નું સ્કૂલમાં છે, it is compatible what we are doing in the masjid, right? So there's no conflict about મને સ્કૂલમાં તો મારા ટીચર આમ કહે છે ને મદ્રસામાં આ કહે છે, નંબર 1. નંબર 2 is કે તમે આ ટૂલ્સ એ લોકોને ઘરે લઈ જવાને આપશો કે ખાલી મદ્રસામાં રિસ્ટ્રિક્ટ કરશો? And number 3 is I know we need to have like and the budget was 3,000, so I assume we get to split the other 2,000, right? So thank you very much. Yeah, so it's okay. We'll give you 3,000 and we'll keep the 2,000. So we each keep 750. But anyway, the other thing was that will we bring some ADHD specialists from outside of a community, right, to help us understand what's being happening outside the madrasa so that we have a concept. Unless, I know Chicago is pro and smart and whatever, but maybe you guys already have an ADHD expert in Moomin.
So I'm going to chime in for that. I have my certificate of clinical competence in ADHD myself, and I also am certified as an autism specialist. So Madrasa Ma, we have already started an initiative in Chicago, alhamdulillah, with the support of our Amil Sab and our Janab, Head Mullim. We are identifying these children. I am screening them privately and educating the teachers as much as possible. And currently I'm providing it from my own khidmat. This equipment is expensive. I do it because it's a passion for me. It's a passion project. But it is happening. I also have extensive experiences working as an OT in the schools. So I know how these IEP, individual education plans work. It's called in Illinois, it's called a 504 plan. I know how they work. We are trying alongside actually, I don't know if he's here, but Sheikh Abbas Bayantaria and Husseina bin Sab to kind of bring this to the forefront for at-talim as well. So it's all happening in the background. Akamolani Dua ni Raza Mubaraksi. We just kind of need help right now to where we can start. Everything starts small and then we can grow big from there. But the initiative, the sensory tools, number 1, and the education and training. That's our focus right now.
You had something further? Just to answer one of your questions, the ADHD experts and sort of the disorder experts. So Munira Ben herself is one. A couple of us are pediatricians, Ahmad Bhai. So we're definitely trying to kind of be experts ourselves. But in Ilawa B, with your help, Sharks, and your funding, we can invite invited speakers to come for our education sessions. And Thoro Elokone bhi honorarium mile. So they also will come. That way we'll get the best kind of speakers to come and educate our parents and teachers. Nebiju, just one last thing I'll say. Munira Ben, she's done an amazing job of engaging the parents. So je parents actually experts hoiche with their own children. So with the parents engaged with this program, eloko pote bhi, they can be the ones who speak out about these disorders. Nekim bachao nekim eloko tarbiyat ki dishe and how they've kept them involved with all the things. So those are going to be our experts that we lean on also.
Just a quick follow-up question. What are the long-term effects of using these devices, toys, what we're calling, as you get older? And do you have any suggestions for adults who fidget with their phones?
So using the fidgets right now with children, the hope is, as adults, we know what our bodies need. Children do not. They know that they're feeling a certain way, they're feeling uncomfortable in their own skin, they don't know why. It is our job as a therapist, as a parent, as a teacher, to help them and provide these necessary things for them, whether it's deep pressure, and not to go into it too detailed, but whatever they need. It is our job to give it to them. It is the hope then as they get older, they know what they need and they can provide it for themselves. I know that when I get anxious, I like deep pressure. That's something I know about myself, and I can function as an adult independently knowing that about myself. I have a 12-year-old daughter, she's in Muqayyam. She knows that she fidgets and she can't concentrate, so she always will have something, in her pocket, whether she's at masjid, madrasa, school, whatever, she will, and alhamdulillah, hifz kari rahi che Muqayyam ma. So the long-term effects, it's more the education and then the knowing and growing with the child and them educating themselves and being advocates for themselves at some point.
Thank you. Thank you very much, team, the 4 Fidgeteers. If I can call upon the stage our final team, Team MSM, with Sheikh Hussein Bayemani, please.
Don't say. Oops, sorry. I can get her this. I can get my laptop into it.
Yusuf Bhai, AVIT. Can you load the presentation? SBMA Shark Tank, Team MSM. It's saying that you need permission to access.
Just link it. I can change it with this. Yeah. Okay. Next year, उम्मीद है कि SPMA conference में Google Slides નું भी एक workshop breakout session થાય. Sorry, Yusuf, I changed the HDMI into my laptop. How much in it? Oh, but I need. Okay. While we're waiting, मैंने खाली मुबारकबादी आपकी छे सगला जे teams हमना present किदो. Amazing ideas, concepts, and presentations. I couldn't have asked for a better group of people to present with because inshallah मेजे हमना present करीस. I think it ties into everything that you all have presented. And inshallah, this could be the beginning of a very big project for all of us. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin mubarak sallim. खुदा ताला हमारा आका नी उमर शरीफ ने दराज करे जे मौला अपना जिस्मानी तबीब छे अने जान ना भी तबीब छे. Thank you everyone for giving me the opportunity to be here. We are Team MSM. My better half is not here, but she's here with me in spirit. And our team nu naam che Muminin supporting Muminin with a dua Mubarak Waka Mufaddal Saifuddin Mola. Sukam ke Mola hamesha farmawe che ke Mumin na bai che. So we decided our Oshnima ame our team nu naam araksu. So I want to share a story with you all. This is my baby. Her name is Ruqayya. She's 13 years old. She's lively. She's like your typical 13-year-old kid. She likes to hang out with her friends and siblings. She loves her best cousin and best friend, Amatullah. And by the way, she also has RPE 65 deficiency. This is a genetic disorder that causes visual impairment. But alhamdulillah, Maulani Duasi, Mufaddal Maulani Duasi, Burhanuddin Maulani Duasi, alhamdulillah, shukran lillah, khairid che. एक स्टोरी मैंने अभी शेयर करूँ छे कि अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह रुकैया हर साल आका मौला साथे अशरा मुबारका नसीब थया छे
But every year it gets harder for her, in part because of her visual impairment. And it's challenging. ગયા સાલ લૈલતુલ કદરમાં મુફદ્દલ મોલાએ ઘણી શાંતિ વસીલો ફરમાયો અને ખાસ ડૉક્ટર વાસ્તે એમ દુઆ ફરમાયો અને એમ ફરમાયું કે સગલાની મદદ બી કરે, બીમારોને સુકૂન મિલે એવું અમલ કરે. અને પછી આ બી ઘણું એક ઇમ્પોર્ટન્ટ પોઈન્ટ જે એમ સુનીને મને એમ થયું કે આ મોલા શું ફરમાવે છે, આ કેમ થશે આપણાથી. જેના જાનની બીમારી હોય એને બરાબર સમજાવો, તમે આ દીન મૂકીને કहाँ જઈ રહ્યા છો, હુસેનના વારિસને મૂકીને કहाँ જઈ રહ્યા છો. हमारी उम्मीद है कि रुकैया हर साल मौला साथे अशरा मुबारका नसीब थाय, मौलानी हजरत में हाजिर थाय. અને એમ બી અમારી ઉમ્મીદ છે કે આ ચેલેન્જીસ જે એના ડિસેબિલિટીઝ છે, એના ઇમ્પેરમેન્ટ્સ છે, એના સબબથી દીનથી દૂર ના થાય અને મૌલાથી દૂર ના થાય. So not only is it my responsibility and it's not only my role as a parent to do what I can to address these challenges, but હવે મૌલાએ એક મોટી જિમ્મેદારી આપી છે આપને કે as a physician, what can I do to address these challenges? તાકે મુમિન અને જે બી હોય એ લોકો મૌલાથી દૂર ના થાય, દીનથી દૂર ના થાય. And so I'd like to speak a little bit about mu'minin with special needs. So the challenge is, as a community, we need to support these mu'minin. We need to help them overcome their fears of attending miqat, both on small scales and large scales. We need to work so that they receive maximum barakat during miqat, mola sateh, and they strengthen their connections to faith and community. So how do we do this? First step is we need to identify. They should be identified and acknowledged within ITS, and we need to work on accommodations for their unique needs that can be implemented not only locally but during community-wide miqat. So we need to identify, we need to compile data, take it from a Jamaat level and then pool it all together so we have a worldwide database. We need to verify with the help of Umur Sehat, what are the needs that this particular mu'min requires. We need to plan. We need special working groups with people of different expertise so that they can weigh in. And of course, we need to include not only the mu'min with the disability or impairment, but their parents or family members who are taking care of them. Finally, we need to implement these solutions on the ground. So this may be a familiar screen to all of you. આપનું ITSનું જે data update જે થાય છે, this is the health details. And I've blocked out some of the screens, but I want to focus on two. One is the health status, one is the chronic disease. હવે આ health statusમાં you're either healthy, you're sick, you're mentally disabled, or you're physically disabled. I don't know if that's the right way to go about this. We can put there is maybe a physical impairment or a mental impairment. And then I'll go into this a little bit more. And here under chronic diseases, now this also includes vision problems, and it says hearing problems, but what does that mean? Yapne chashma pere che, yapne hearing aids wapre che, or is it something more than that? So we need to improve the quality of the information that we can find on ITS. So some thoughts and suggestions. Specifically here under mentally disabled and physically disabled, why not create drop-down menus? We can take the data we pull from our local Jamaats and then come up with the top several impairments that are prevalent within our communities. And then add those there so that we can further define what the impairment or disability is. And if there's something that's not included, we can use a drop-down or a free type section where em apne type karine em likhi sake che. Compiling the data. This is where apna umur dakhiliya can help us. આ સગલું મેં જે પ્રેઝન્ટ કરું છું બરાબર છે, ITSનું બી ઇન્વોલ્વ છે, પણ this is also a bar umur comprehensive project. Umur Sehat, Umur Dakhiliya, they can help us here generate a list of these mu'minin who require the special resources. then we can again pull this data globally and break down specific needs according to what we find, what we've gathered, and allocate these resources accordingly. Umur Sehat, they can help us verify this. So locally, apne, for example, एक survey form moklave, confidential of course. And ema bachi apne responses lene Umur Sehat committee can verify and see ke as disability suche, what do they need, how do we make sure that this is identified on ITS, and then again, pool the data with other Jamaats globally. Once we can get the categories determined, now we need to plan. So, Umur Sehetna physicians, Umur Dakhiliyana members, if we can create working groups for each of the special needs we identify, or at least even to start with the top 5 special needs that we identify, then we can create these working groups to further fine-tune and figure out the details of what's needed. Ancillary support services, orientation, mobility specialists, therapists, and of course, je mumin je disability che ne impairment che na family members a sagla miline ek group thai. But ye apne regularly meeting schedule kare throughout the year, ek super meeting thai, and of course, what better platform than SPMA conference? Inshallah, autaware se bhi thai. And our conference ma, maybe we have a session where each of the working groups can figure out and discuss with each other what they found, what are their problems, what progress have they made. And inshallah, a large scale mikat, apna waste to ashara mubaraka che. And pehle miline on the ground coordinate kare ke rit se apne resources we can use them and how can we prepare them for these muminin. So implementation, in the red, I think these things can definitely happen. We can flag them somehow on ITS. And in jare mikat waste registered thai, to elo automatically avi jai ke ab ben nu vision ma problem che, ab ben nu hearing ma problem che. So already that data is there, so we know ke who is attending and what we need to do to get ready. Ke elo ko waste apne kem soliyat kari ape. A very simple solution is lanyards with ID cards where special and important health information is added. It's very visible. Any information that's pertinent is there already for anyone to see. And of course, this ties in with education. Je khidmat guzar je che, BGI che, je bhi hoy, je nizam na je khidmat guzaro hoy. I won't go into details, fun. Personally, I'm bani chuku che to me aras karu chu aap sagla ne. Pan was talaki ma rukaya waste koi war problem thai che, and it's because there may be a lack of education. Potential proposals we have depending on what each of our working groups find. Why not designate a venue? Ke have suppose, for example, visually impaired muminin che apne section ma rakhe sukam ke we can have more access to screens. Sometimes je mota apne LED screens je che alhamdulillah gana fine che, it's amazing and je quality che is great, but that may not be appropriate for someone who has visual impairment and needs to see something up close. So they may need something like a tablet where the WAZ is relayed and they have better access to it, or more access to local screens that are around where, you know, instead of like 1 or 2 small screens, maybe 6 screens hoy, 8 screen hoy. To sagla em group karine em screen paase besi ne WAZ ni talaki barabar si kari sake. Ne Maulana Didar bhi thai. Special access or entry, awe amuk je physical disability, suppose wheelchair hoy ya pachi koine chalwa ma taklif che. We could have a separate access for them ke awe a muminin no apne yasi entry kare to pachi crowd ma bhi rush na thai. And ए लोग को आराम से अंदर venue में पहुंची जाए. So my conclusions, our conclusions, Muminin with special needs need to be identified and acknowledged in our communities. We need to have actions to accommodate their unique needs. We need to allay their fears. That's the main thing. And जब पहला में अपने अर्ज़ की तो आप सकला ने के एम ना था के एना disability ना सबब सी એ બચ્ચું યા કોઈ બી મૂમીને એમ કહે કે ના મને આજે નથી આવવું મને બરાબર નહીં લાગતું મને તકલીફ પડશે આપને મૂમિનીને સગલાને નજદીક લઈ આવ્યા છે so that should be our main focus foster enthusiasm for them to participate and then strengthen of course their connection to the faith and community the initiative it goes both ways it starts at the local level and works up to the top in the global community but each can learn from each other. What we do on a local level might be beneficial on a global level, and what we do on a global level can be implemented locally as well. I think this, again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, SBMA platform plays a huge role. How many times can we get so many Muminin with so many different areas of expertise to weigh in on such a big problem that we are facing? Not problem, but a challenge, and how can we overcome it? So inshallah future SPMA conferences mein bhi apne time allocate kare so that we can work on these projects and then implement them moving forward. Considerations, disabilities are on a spectrum. It's not all or nothing. You can't just say ke asagla muminin physically disabled che apne ya mukide asagla muminin mentally disabled che apne ya mukide. For example, our vision ma jo cho mare dikri Ruqayya alhamdulillah she can read but she can't see far and very far. And she has problems with mobility. She uses a cane. And bija mumini ne wache ke zara bhi mazur che anksi. So how the challenge is how do we address within the subgroups to accommodate for them all? We need to encourage muminin with these special needs and their families to come forward. One of the words I've heard come a lot is stigma during these presentations, and it's true. આ સ્ટિગ્મા છે એમ લોકો એમ બીક હોય છે કે મેં કેમ આગળ આવીને મેં એમ બતાવું કે મારા બચ્ચુંનું આમ છે યા મારા ભાઈનું આમ છે યા મને આમ છે identifying a primary point of contact to relay our concerns personally મેં આપને કહું છું જ્યારે રૂકૈયા સાથે મેં અશરા પર જાય છે તો I've contacted ITS office I've contacted Burhani Medical જે બી apna avenues je che I've tried to contact to see કે apne kei રીતે we can come together and ek solution nikare of course at the time for mara Ruqayya waste it's obvious che but then I realized that this is not just about Ruqayya it's really about everyone who has these special needs so ek uniform ek point of contact ho joye where we can relay all of our concerns and get feedback on how we can proceed to address them and મિસાક હવે હમણાં રૂકૈયા ગેરબાલિક છે પણ એનું મિસાક થશે ઇન્શાલ્લાહ તો પછી મિસાક બાદ શું થશે હવે અશરા પર જાશું શી ઇઝ ગોઈંગ ટુ હેવ હર ઓન ITS આપણે અકેલી મૂકશો એને પણ એને શી હેઝ પ્રોબ્લેમ્સ નેવિગેટિંગ સમટાઇમ્સ મોટા ક્રાઉડ્સમાં તો આપણે આ કેવી રીતથી હેન્ડલ કરશું બચ્ચાઓ છે એન્ડ ધેન નોન બચ્ચાઓ તો that will be a challenge also that will have to be addressed and inshallah Mawlan Duasi addressed hase. Shukran for this opportunity. This is my team MSM, but it's not just about this team MSM. Aap sagla bhi hamara team MSM cho. Mara parents che, mara bhai che, mara babi che, sagla everyone in this room is team MSM. Shukran.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing such a personal story and you know using that to help Muminin and you know inshallah Mulani Duasi may she always have Mullah Sai on her.
Inshallah.
Can we open for maybe 2 questions if that's okay?
Dr. Hussain, I was going to echo the same. You're not alone, and we're all going to be advocates for Ruqayya. Thank you for bringing light and awareness to the challenges that many Muminin face. But I just wanted to make a comment that there is hope. And I saw it firsthand, not Chennai, where there's a group from Chennai that was advocating for children and adults with disabilities. And in YMCA camp, Mahalu Shifana under, there was Wasta Lucky for children and adults with hearing disabilities. And there was a Moomin sign language interpreter that was interpreting the whole waz, which I just was
amazing.
Phenomenal. So we're on a rahat block chair, wheelchairs access, saglu thai rehu che, and there's a lot more work to be done, and we need to do it together. But I just wanted to say there's hope, and I think avenues higher ups are listening and darwaza khul se
No,
inshallah.
no, zarur. Barabar se, that's exactly. Hasib, I'm sure Neche, and I know things are maybe in the works, but it should be on a unified front. And from one source, emne ke yasi che, ek unified source se apne kare, and ITS might be the best way to do it, because then you can collect all the data from there.
So it was wonderful. So I have two comments. And I can tell you from the ACP initiative, which we started in 2015, the moment you get ITS involved for people to enter anything that personal, we found that it was a very big hurdle for us, at least in North America and Canada. Indiana movement ne kai problem no to ye bataye jaine bindas akhu data nakhi ditu pan American ne Canadians gaya jna, right? So that's one thing. If ITS is the platform to announce this. The second thing is that I know like America ma ek group che maksusin ke kai kai che કે જે વખત મોલા સાથે અશારા ના કીધા હોય એના નામ સબમિટ કરે તો એ લોકોને રજા આવે છે. So I'm wondering if there is a possibility for us to create something like that for special needs people to submit to ITS so that જે બચ્ચાઓ આ special needs ના છે એ લોકોને preference મળે to attend અશારા. And because I'm the shark and I'm going to approve whether you get the money or not, I really want to find out how we are going to use the $5,000 that we are going to give you. And I really want to figure out, have you figured out that visual impairment hai to aam thai, hearing ho to aam thai, and what are the tools and techniques? Because ITS to free che, loko to badua free ma kari rahe.
ITS, I guess I misspoke. I'm not relying completely on ITS, but it can be at least a way so we can figure out what are the needs. How many mu'mineen have visual impairments? How many mu'mineen have hearing impairments? Using that, then we can maybe allocate. Alhamdulillah, JB, again, win or lose, I've already won. मैं आप सकला ने मेरा presentation में किधु छे. But with that funding, then you can allocate it accordingly to the working groups. अबे बच्ची, for example, visual impairment ma, maybe you can use that for tablets. Tablets where you check them in and out. कोई भी मिकात होए, तुम्हारा ITS card आपो, मैं तुमने आ tablet आपीस, then you return it, I give you your ITS card back. तो एना वास्ते, मुमिन वास्ते who has a problem with vision, they can use it for up close. तो maybe technology tools, but a lot of that, I can't tell you where that will go until we know who is out there with the disability.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad barak wa sallim. Janab Hassan Bhai Sahab, it was a very difficult decision for us. And we congratulate all the teams on a lot of hard work. We congratulate all the 9 teams who brought their information, their presentations to us. It was an honor for us to be the judges in this competition. Mono Karam and Ehsan. The 3 finalists, all 3 touch different generations, different ages, different categories in our life cycle as Momineen. Children, adolescents, and the elderly, the seniors. And we must not forget that all of us, all of these ages are all Mola's children. We are all responsible ultimately as physicians, caretakers, healthcare providers for providing the best of environment and community for all these populations. With that being said, it was our decision to unanimously decide that the final winner of this year's competition, sure. Okay, one second. Our third place was Defy Dementia. Okay, sorry, mistake, because we didn't have the third and second. So third place is MSM. Second place, Defy Dementia. And can anyone guess the winner? First place, the 4 Fidgeteers. We'll just add that as judges, our goal, Umid, our request is when we talked about the funds and how they get allocated, our request is that you have a budget that you guys outlined out. We have 2 other really great teams that did a lot. And our request is that you figure out a way to see if you can use those funds amongst all 3 teams, if at all possible. Janab Hassan Bhai Sahab will address the audience with a few comments.
આજે હમણાં શાર્ક ટેન્કનું થયું એમાં તન્ને જે પીછ હતા અટલ તન્ને એવા હતા કે એકદમ એમ થતું હતું કે કોણ જીતશે અને તન્ને ચીજ કરવાની છે તો ઇન્શાઅલ્લાહ ઉમર સેહતના લેવલના ઉપરથી SBMએ જે આયા ના શાર્ક ટેન્કના અંદરથી આજે આઈડિયા આપી છે સાદાત કિરામમાં અરજ કરી અને ઇન્શાઅલ્લાહ તમામ આલમી ઈમાનના અંદર આ જે વાત તન્ને ચીજ જે કીધી છે એને આ સાલ ઇમ્પ્લિમેન્ટ કરવાની પૂરી કોશિશ કરશું